Karibu sana Dr. Maria. The floor is yours.
Asante, asante sana. I am actually so happy that I got invited. Next time, I think I'm going to invite myself because I was like, am I going to be invited? And it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Betty. And I thank all of you guys really because every time I get invited to this forum, the topic that you guys pick or the topic that comes to be is something that I'm also wanting to expand and learn as well. And I've always been blessed by being a part of you guys and having a chance to talk with you guys. I learned so much as well. You know, one thing about life is that we constantly learn, we constantly evolve. There's always something good that you can benefit or that you can learn or help you grow. And I do apologize for being late, but I was getting my positivity on. I sing at church. So they were like, hey, you have to sing. I'm like, I have this, program at 12. And the leader's like, well, come in and then go. And I thank God for that because let me tell you, I got my positivity on really well this morning. So I hope that we have a wonderful time. I always say I don't know all the answers. Sometimes you guys have the answers. So I can't wait for us to collaborate, for us to jifunze pamoja, to help each other think deeply, help each other be uplifted. And this topic comes in such a time, here in the States, we're having a great big change in our lives. Uh, Anytime there's a new president, there's things to look forward for. There's things that can be fearful. There's things that stir up emotions. Even if you're not affected immediately when you're listening to politics or when you're listening to this happening. I mean, we've had here, we had a change in presidency. There's this mass deportation. There is plane crash that took place just a day or so. So there's just things, and I'm sure in Kenya there's things. And I'm also from Tanzania, so we're about to have election and there's more stuff happening around us. So this topic really came just at the right time. And like I said, it's not just for you guys. I hope you guys don't think this is for us. No, it's also for me, and I get to be here with you guys and really process and grow, and it allows me to go back and read my stuff and understand things. So I really appreciate you guys. I have a small, very short slide presentation. And before I start that, I want us to think about these quotes. Captain Jack Sparrow says, the problem is not the problem. It's how we see the problem that's a problem. The problem is not the problem. It's how we see the problem that's a problem. A client of mine whom I've been helping um, was going through some things and they shared this with me. And it was a aha moment for them. And it was a confirmation of what we were working on. We were working on things that are related to anxiety and fears. And they were like, I found this quote. The problem is not the problem. The problem is not the problem. It's how you see the problem that's a problem. And while I was, researching and looking at what we will share today, I also came across a young lady who stated this quote by Lauren Bachana. And the quote that she had was, whatever you are not changing, you're choosing. Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So while we start this conversation and as I present quickly, I want you guys to think about those quotes, okay? Um, let's see here. So of course we're talking about positive thinking. And positive thinking, it's something that we all need, and including myself. And we constantly have to revise what we're thinking and how it affects us. Um, I just want to put a disclaimer here that please note that I do not own the rights to the pictures or the music or the videos that I'm about to share with you. They're all on YouTube. They're here for educational purposes and to help all of us be enlightened and to learn. And so none of those slides or pictures are my own content, but content that was also already published. Okay. Um, let's listen to this video here.
This is your brain, the control center of your senses, your feelings, and your thoughts. Your thoughts have so much power over your brain. Over time, frequent thoughts create pathways that become well worn, like a road you drive down often. These pathways become habitual ways of thinking. Each time you think a thought, strengthens that same pathway, making it easier to think that same thought again and again. That well worn pathway becomes a habit of the brain. Sometimes this can be pretty hurtful. But the good news is your brain is plastic. And with repeated intention, you can change these pathways. That's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the process of creating change in your brain to think the way you want to. You will learn how to focus on a different, more helpful thought and start building a new pathway. At first, it will take practice and intention. You will need to reroute your thoughts. Those old hurtful pathways will wither away as your new thought pathway becomes the well worn road to a better you.
So
This is your
that was a little bit on neural paths, how our brains work when it comes to changing from negative thinking to positive thinking. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So positive thinking is the practice of or tendency to be positive or optimistic about life. So it's us intentionally um, wanting to think positively in our lives, in decisions that we make, or just in the thoughts that are coming. And usually this happens whenever we are in, a negative state of mind, or we are realizing that we constantly think a certain way and we're wanting to make those changes. So positive thinking is the practice or the being intentional of wanting to think positivity in all situation or in the majority of situations in our lives. What are the benefits of positive thinking? Well, there is lots here on our slides. Some of the benefits of positive thinking, it increases lifespan, it lowers depression, it lowers level of distress and pain. It causes greater resilience to illness. It helps us psychologically and physically feel good, have a better well-being. It helps our cardiovascular health and it reduces risk of death from cardiovascular, like heart attacks and stuff like that, and also strokes. It reduces the risk of death from cancer. It reduces the risk of death from respiratory issues um, and infection. And it also it helps us to cope, give us better coping skills during hardships in the time of stress. Now, the very interesting thing about this slide, it had all medical stuff, right? And then it just had one slide that just talks about helps us doing hardship and stress. So positive thinking actually helps our physical health. A lot of times we're focused on how positive thinking can help us feel good, and just enjoy life, and we'll just be going through, we'll have less stress and doing, especially during the times of hardship. But it actually also has greater benefits, and those benefits are more physical. And the reason being is when our bodies are feeling happy or more positive, it secretes certain hormones. Okay. When our bodies are feeling stress or overwhelmed or angry, sometimes you'll get a headache. Sometimes your heart will be, your pressure will go up. Most of us are adults, like, hey, I'm so stressed out mpaka kichwa kinaniuma, au yani moyo uko mzito, au mwili unaniuma, I'm so tense, because although it's a negative thought or a stressor, it actually affects you physiologically because there's certain hormones that are released. One of the major one is called cortisone that is released, and it is a stress hormone. So your body tenses up. But with that stress hormone called cortisone, it affects something called the inflammatory process. So that's why you're seeing a lot of medical stuff, right, in relations to emotional things. So the more positive you are, you're reducing some of these risk factors. Now, these are studies that I've done, and this slide actually comes from the Mayo Clinic. They did an article on this. Um, but does it completely cure you? Can you say that if you're positive, you're not going to have illnesses? Who knows? I'm not God. But those who have studied this, they saw that people who are more positive while they're sick, they got better, or it reduces risk factors, or it reduces certain illnesses, and it builds more resilience. So I learned something new while I was trying to figure out this positive thinking. There's something called toxic positivity. This is, I don't know how many of you guys have heard about this, but I will explain it to you, and we'll probably get more discussion on this. So this little guy here says, today I'm tired of, to, today I tried to think positive, but it didn't work. What is toxic positivity? So toxic positivity is the excessive and ineffective over generalizing of happy and optimistic state in situations, in the denial or minimizing or minimization or invalidating genuine human emotions. There's this term I used to hear, I'm faking the funk, meaning I'm faking not feeling bad. Another one is fake it till you make it. So what is toxic positivity is when you fake to be happy and not acknowledge that you're going through a difficult time. And we'll talk about how this can be a little bit dangerous. So some of the signs of toxic positivity is being unable to share your true feelings. Wale watu ambao wanaweka vitu ndani, yani, oh, I'm doing great, yeah, I'm doing fine, lakini huku ndani wanaumia. Being ashamed of having depression or sadness, constantly hiding how you genuinely feel, comparing the situation with someone else who has it worse. Kama huku Marekani, sometimes people will say, why are you worried? You're in America, life is harder here in Kenya, or life is harder more here in Tanzania. Why are you complaining that at least you're over there? Toxic positivity. So what are some other comments about toxic positivity? Is being negative won't help you. Good vibe only. Get over it. Other people have it worse than you. Smile. Crying won't help. Just stay positive. And all these terms, if you listen to them closely, if you said it to somebody or you were saying it to yourself, it's like you're telling that person, whatever you're going through is nothing. Yani, there's no, there's no, I understand what you're going through. It's like, hata tutaki kusikia, good vibes only, you know? And this can be dangerous because people then hide their emotions, right? They fake the funk. And this is why a lot of times when people who have committed suicide leave us, the people around, they're like, oh, they were such a nice guy. They were always smiling. They were just always fine. I didn't even realize all this was going on. Why? Because they were faking the funk. They were pretending to be okay and good vibe only. Kumbe ndani, they were not even acknowledged that they're going through something. So this is going to be very interesting for us to discuss. How do you keep a balance? How do you keep a balance of being super positive, but also acknowledging when you're going through something? How can you be kind to yourself? You know, how can you say, you know what, I am broke, but thank God, at least umenipa chakula leo, So you're not focused on just being broke and nothing will happen to you and just there. You're acknowledging your situation, but you're looking forward for something better. You're looking forward for a solution. You're looking forward how to get out. Like when you're in a ditch, you can either dig and dig deeper. And when you dig deeper, what do? You go lower and lower. Or when you are in ditch, you can start looking up and say, Jamani, nirushieni kamba. Or you can start climbing the walls to get out of that ditch. So when you imagine the ditch as a negative emotion, doing that negative emotion, you can just say, hey, positive vibe only, I'm just here, and you can fake it and you just continue to fake it and just be in that same situation, right? Because you're not acknowledging that you need help to get out of that ditch. Or you can ask for a rope to get out of the ditch, but by acknowledging, hey, I'm in this ditch, I want to get up. And up, there's the sun. Up there, there's somebody, hey, unaweza kunisaidia. That's asking other people. Or you can say, you know what? I know I'm in this ditch, but I'm going to get out. I've been in this ditch one day, I've been in this ditch 2 days, but I know up there is where I want to be. Or you can say, kwani, there's so many ditches. Mimi afadhali niko kwenye hii ditch. Wengine hata wamefukiwa kabisa ndani. Right? Toxic positivity. How can we avoid that so that we can be genuine, not only to ourselves, but also genuine with others? I want to play this video too.
This next series of photographs are the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book, The Message from Water. Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, words, ideas, and music affect the molecular structure of water. Please remember that water comprises over 70% of a mature human body and covers the same amount on our planet. Water is the very source of all life. This photo shows the beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring water. This next photo is from the Shimanto River, the last clean spring in Japan. Notice the extraordinary geometric forms. The fact that the molecular structure of water can be affected by our consciousness, our intent, and our sounds is extremely important. This photo is from the Mount Cook Glacier in New Zealand. Mr. Emoto has been visually documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his photographic techniques. He freezes droplets of water, then examines them under a dark field microscope that has photographic capabilities. His work clearly demonstrates the diversity of the molecular structure of water and the effects of the environment upon the structure of the water. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is from contaminated water from the Yodo River in Japan. In this photo, we can compare the contaminated water with clean stream water. Look at the difference. Mr. Emoto decided to see what effects music would have upon the structure of water. He placed distilled water between two speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed after the water was frozen. This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's Air for the G string on the water. This photo is water exposed to Chopin's Farewell Song. This next photo is water being exposed and affected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music on the water. Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "Thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words, "love" and "appreciation." This photo shows the effects of words, "You make me sick, I will kill you." Here we can compare the effects of "thank you" with the "you make me sick, I will kill you." Very, very different geometric forms being incurred through the intention. Now, this photo is of a very polluted and toxic water from the Fujiwara Dam. Here now is the same water from the Fujiwara Dam after a Buddhist monk had offered a prayer over it. Prayer, that sound coupled with intention, seems to have an extraordinary ability of restoring water to its natural, harmonious, geometric symmetry. And in this photo, we can compare toxic water and then the effects of praying over the water. This next year,
Okay. Quite interesting. So that last video, this man, Mr. Masura, and I'm gonna put his name here because I know you guys are probably curious to Masura Emoto. Mr. Masura Emoto did an experiment of taking water and taking pictures of the water molecules when you're looking it into a microscope. And the interesting thing is that, of course, this video showed how the waters look in the different, fresh water versus water that's been polluted. But the last part, he was talking about how he took water and it typed words and placed it on the water, and then he took pictures of it. Now, our bodies are 70% water. I'm learning a lot, guys. You guys gave me this challenge and I'm learning. I was like, so if our bodies are 70% water and I'm hanging around people who are positive or negative, or I'm hearing things that are positive versus negative, how is that affecting me? And then the most interesting thing is when you are trying to learn how to think positively, one of the most important thing is that you have to take a self-inventory, meaning ask yourself how, when you are quiet in your own thoughts, au unaenda sokoni umeingia matatu au unaendesha gari, what kind of thinking do you have? Au umeona mtu mjinga amepita barabarani kidogo agongwe, what are your thoughts? Or umeenda kwenye store, mtu anajaribu ku take advantage of the pricing. Where does your thought, are you mad for the rest of the day? And how does that affect you? I asked myself, when I wake up in the morning, especially us ladies, first of all, when you wake up in the morning, do you wake up saying, oh, I thank God I woke up this morning? Or you're like, oh my gosh, tena siku nyingine, oh, Jumatatu ndo hiyo, what are we gonna do? And then you get up, maji ya baridi au maji ya moto, you're like, okay, great. Unaangalia kwenye kioo, and you're like, nimenenepa, yani, ona hata hizi nguo haziingii, or guys be like, yani, I wish I was a little bit tall, or, niongeze my muscles or something like. How do we talk to ourselves? And remember, you're looking at yourself in the mirror. What are you saying to yourself? It's one thing when people are saying negative things to you and you're trying to fight that negativity, but you live with yourself. You live with, what are you saying to yourself? Yes, people can say things, relatives can say things, parents have said things, teachers may say things, your friends or an ex-boyfriend said this and this. Some people have been in traumatic relationships where people said some really hurtful things, and it's hard to strip away or take that away or take those memories away. But now that you have that freedom, what are you saying to yourself? I heard you guys say word of God. So I know there's different people who are Muslim, Christians, in different walks of faith, but a lot of times our faith tells us or reminds us to think positively, to lift ourselves up. I know there's a verse in the Bible that says, whatever things that are true, whatever things that are honorable, whatever things that are kind, whatever things are, those are the things that you need to think about. So, sasa leo ni leo. Tutajisaidiaje? How will we help each other so that this 2025, we are mindful of being positively thinking. And when we are positively thinking, are we acknowledging that clearly we have a problem and we're looking for a positive way, or are we being toxic? That's the question to ask ourselves. Remember, I said the quote from Captain Jack Sparrow, the problem is not the problem. It's how we see the problem that's a problem. So sasa, I'm leaving it up to all of us to have a discussion. How can we think more positively? We learned in the first video that our brains have pathways. If you do something over and over and over and over and over again, you start believing, you actually start behaving. There's also research about that too, that if you repeat a certain behavior over and over, over and over, eventually becomes of you. And we also learned from the first video about neuroplasticity that our brains can change pathways. That if we continue to learn how to think positively, eventually becomes second nature, eventually becomes a habit. I don't know if you guys have friends or family or have had professors or teachers who they're just every time they're just positive until you're like, ah, who you too? Why everything it's a wonderful no, it's not a wonderful day. It's raining outside. But they're like, oh, the rain is a blessing. Hapo umeloa, una baridi, lazima uingie kwenye matatu au utembee. You're like, how is this supposed to be positive? There's just people who are constantly positive, but maybe it's because they practice that positive thinking. And now their brains have readjusted and changed to a manner that whenever a conflict comes, whenever stress comes, their brain just goes that pathway. So how can we, in 2025 with different situations, I mean, we talked about economical situations, but I know there's also personal things that we've gone through. There's depression that we've experienced, or anxiety that we have experienced, or traumas that we have experienced. How can we self-help so that we can change our brains so that we can be individuals who think more positively? I'm going to open up. I have a list of some of the things that we can do, but I want us to just have dialogue and talk about what can we do, or even if you have a question or a comment, let's talk about this and see how we can help ourselves and help each other.